Hello and welcome to another episode of the Abundantly Successful Show, the show for conscious entrepreneurs who have the deep desire to turn their passion to a successful and thriving business, all while making a huge impact in the world. I'm your host, Kay Sanders, also known as the creator of possibilities. And our episode today is all about powering up your business abundance. So if you would like to create more abundance in your business and haven't been able to do so, today's episode is definitely going to give you a lot of golden nuggets to help you, power up your business. So our guest expert today is Gabrielle Spencer. She's also known as the practical spiritualist and abundance activator. I mean, how powerful is that, right? So she's going to tell us all about how we can really, make changes in our business. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Gabrielle. Hello, Gabrielle. Thanks for being here. Great to have you.
Thank you so much, Kay. I'm so excited to be here. I love this topic because it's so important for all of us as we embark on our life passion and purpose and making money at it. This is important to understand all the parts that go into making that mosaic, because that's what it is. It's a harmonic flow of energy. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to get there, how to build that, what we're going to keep and take away. I know that as we were just talking, there's so much that we all go through as we are building our businesses and we're tapping into more and more of our gifts. We evolve, and so does our business evolve. And so I know that part of your podcast is, geared towards how do you get to be abundantly successful? Mm-hmm. And part of being abundantly successful is knowing when, where, what, and how. And for a lot of people, the how is the hardest part because there's so much information and there's so much happening all the time that it's difficult to really focus and be in aligned action. And so I know that you and I are going to talk more about this because I believe and have found in my own business that my path to success has been about honing in on what my purpose is. And as I have done that, focusing and staying focused and really not following the bright, shiny objects and being very focused. And so there are various things that you can do, and that's what we're going to talk about. Do you want me to talk about it now?
No, actually, before we go there,
yes, I know. I'm sorry. I just got all excited.
I know. Me too. But let's just kind of start off with tell us a little bit of who you are, what you do, and most of all, why you do what you do, so the listeners can actually get to know you a little bit before we dive into all this, good content.
Thank you, sweetie. It all comes down so fast. It's difficult for me to remember all the stuff sometimes. Here's the thing. I am a life and business abundance activator. And what that means is that you have to have the whole package in order to be abundant. You have to have life and business in alignment. And I got here because I did over 20 years in corporate America and was very successful in the financial industry, in mortgage banking and lending and secondary marketing and all that fun stuff. Money, basically. I was in the money business and was very successful there. And unfortunately, the housing crisis happened. And that is when I lost my $1.4 million home in Scottsdale, Arizona, and my job. And I loved my job. And you don't hear a lot of people say how much they loved their corporate job, but I did. I made a lot of money, and I was the number one rep in the country. So I was doing fine, and I was well respected, and blah blah. So all that's really cool. And so when everything's taken out from under you, it's like the rug being pulled out from under your feet, and you're going, wait a minute, I was way up here, and now I'm like, I can't even get a job, literally at Dairy Queen. My husband said to me one time, at this point, you could be making more money at Dairy Queen than you are in the mortgage lending business, because it was just, a terrible time. So that was really the precursor to the big awakening, because I had really avoided doing my spiritual life purpose. And I was spiritual that whole time, and I kept everything really well segmented. I was spiritual, and I had spiritual friends, and I did spiritual journeys around the world. In fact, met my husband on a spiritual journey in Tibet. And so we had that part, right? So you think you have all the parts, but they were all very nicely compartmentalized. So then I was corporate, and only people in corporate knew me as corporate Gabrielle. So everything was fine, right? So I was good with it all, except for that when everything collapsed and you have that moment of who am I and what am I doing, which we all come across that, and probably more than once in our lives. And so what happens is I went to see someone because I was completely frustrated. I could not figure it out. And I'm a very intelligent person. And that was really hard to take. Like, I can't figure this out. I could not maneuver things. I didn't have the connections. Nobody had connections. I mean, it was just, it was rough. And so that was okay, there must be something that I'm supposed to be doing, but I had no idea. And the problem for me and for many and many of my clients that work with me is that when you're in the midst of chaos, I always imagine the Snoopy character. The guy, Pigpen, he's got all the dirt running around him, right? All the swirly, everything, right? And that's people's energetic field. When things are going bad, your emotions and all the chaos, it just swirls around you. And that is why you have no clarity, because you can't have it. Everything is in turmoil, and it's very difficult to get a clear, concise answer or thought or direction or anything. So to make a long story short, I went to see someone, a spiritual guru, and asked, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? Why am I unable to find what I need? And she said, you're a healer. And I said, really? No, I just want to go back to corporate. I mean, I loved my life. Everything was great. And so I was in denial and resistance for a long time. And so then that just brought on more of the same. And then, the problems just escalate because I was not willing to really move forward on that aspect. Until finally one day I said, fine, I'll do it for 6 months. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going back to corporate. So anyway, that was more than 10 years ago. And you just go, all right. But even then I was very resistant. And I would only do so much. I always tell everybody, for me, it's like you have the line, right? And I always knew energetically that I was just over the line for being in compliance with what my higher contracts were. And I knew this, and I openly told everybody that was the case. And finally, a couple years ago, I got the ding, ding, ding message of, well, that was fun. And now you have to actually go public. And it was like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. But I had learned, I know, right? Resistance and stubbornness to the end. So but I knew already from those years of experience of spinning my wheels and being unfocused and unwilling to move, I just learned I just didn't need the lesson again. I was like, I know what happens if I'm not willing, because that's what happens. You need to be in alignment and divine alignment with your life path and life purpose. And now I laugh and I share this story because I think it's very common for so many of us, that it's very hard to give up what society has told us we are doing, what we should be doing, what it looks like, how we go about it, to actually tap in and realize, okay, I must be doing something wrong. So maybe I'll put that aside and tap in and find out what it is. So since I've done that, oh my goodness, you're back to life is great. And I can't believe I resisted. That's really my message. What was I resisting? Abundance, happiness, things are not chaotic. You're in the flow. I mean, it's fun. I get to meet great people. I mean, I talk to people around the world. I have clients around the world. I mean, it's amazing. And you're helping everybody change their lives. And that's like the most rewarding thing ever. So that's my backstory.
Well, you
and
know,
how I got here.
I think a lot of people that are going through a resistance. I know for me, I started as a holistic life coach, then did some sales coaching, then business coaching, then the mindset, and now the whole spiritual side. It was like, for me, it's the same thing. Like the universe kept smacking me so much because I was also resisting. And I see so many, even my clients, you know, people that I talk to, there's the whole, you know, you can actually put the word resistance in capital letter and underline it like, you know, 5,000 times. And I mean, I think that's what's going on a lot. And I see, like, I mean, in some of those, you know, those Facebook groups as well, you know, for the spiritual people, the conscious entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I see a lot is that a lot of people are resisting their divine gifts. And it's, I think oftentimes like they don't really know how to deal with it or what to do with it, or that they would be then unique, they would be different. And I think that's like what scares a lot of people. I mean, did you experience that as well?
Yes. I didn't want to be seen. And, you know, I know that a lot of people talk about this, like, you know, that you have to be seen, obviously, to be out there. And for me, you know, that's a lot of old traumas and programming that goes into that. It's valid, but you have to heal and release the multidimensional cause of that. And that's where my healer aspect comes in, which is to help people to release and heal the things that you don't know where the root of the problem is. I mean, the issue for many people is they believe that the answers to the reason that they're not abundant or they can't find their life path or they're not really sure is that it's going to be found in something that's occurred for them in their current lifetime, like their childhood. And my parents always said, you know, money didn't grow on trees. And I'm going to throw in a tidbit here that was really funny. This was running through my mind the other day when I was driving, and immediately came with it, yes, actually, money does grow on trees. There's the oranges, the mandarins, the olives, the grapefruit, and so I looked it up when I got home, and just in citrus in the United States in 2016, $3.44 billion was made from citrus. That's just citrus. I mean, so I thought to myself, see, now right there is a myth buster, okay? Money does grow on trees. Then you have the fact that trees are lumber, that you get paper. I mean, housing is built from lumber. I mean, think about exponentially a tree and all that it brings in abundance. And so I just laughed and I thought, it's really amazing how, again, society and many people out there are talking about that that's a belief you have to deal with. But actually, it's an erroneous belief, not because it keeps you from having money, but it's actually just not even factual.
I mean, isn't money made out of trees too, technically, out of paper?
Yeah, it's a fiber cloth, but it's all, hemp and all that. Just think about it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when we are hearing people out there, they're talking about these beliefs, and sure, that's a belief, but the truth is the root of the issue is most likely in another energetic consciousness that was you. And it has a lot more to do with the lifetimes where you might have had an oath or a vow of poverty. You might have had it of where you are serving, and so you are basically receiving food or a night's shelter in exchange for your healing gifts. And so you can see how that grows exponentially bigger than the idea that money doesn't grow on trees, right? These are bigger issues because usually there was a trauma associated. I was working on someone in the past, and I could see where the person had been run out of town being stoned. And you're like, wow, that's a trauma. And here, that person, what gets registered in their consciousness was, I'm here to serve my highest purpose and to serve God. And here I am being, stoned for my service. And that happens in so many ways when I work on people. I see it in many ways. I'm a healer, and, I worked with herbs, or then I was accused of being a witch. And, there's many ways that this affects people from wanting to embrace their gifts, because they haven't always been embraced. They have been ostracized, they have been hurt, they've been traumatized, they have been raped, murdered, whatever it is, some, pretty horrific stuff. Mm-hmm. And so that isn't things, I know that you have worked with the Akashic Records. So there's not a lot here that can't be found in other layers of consciousness. And that is why I am a multidimensional healer, where I'm going into those other consciousnesses and healing and releasing the traumas so you can move on. And what you feel in your current life is sudden energy movement. Like, oh my goodness, I have a client right now. She finally came to me because it was like everything in her life was frozen. And so for her, the issue was that in other lifetimes, aspects of herself were literally put into a deep freeze state. And so what happened is as we're clearing these traumas out, she texted me that a deal that never got off the ground and was out there more than a year ago suddenly got energy behind it, and it's a 3 something billion deal that she's the middle guy, the facilitator. So, your take is a couple % of that. And so it's finance. I know, right?
Wow, so, a couple % that sounds a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And so, but she wrote me and was like, I cannot believe it. And there have been several other instances where this has happened for her. We're just releasing and healing those aspects and freeing those aspects of herself that were frozen. We're bringing her wholeness together, because we all talk about how it's about your wholeness from within. That is your power. That means healing all those aspects of yourself that have been separated from you, or they're not connected fully.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, some of the things that I learned in my Akashic Records, I mean, it blew my mind, where I had literally made choices, years ago to not wanting to make a whole lot of money in my business. And guess what? It kept showing up in my business. I worked and worked and worked, did so many different things to make more money, get more clients. And no matter what I did, I didn't get any clients. So I was really struggling. So I completely get that. But now how can the listeners, really, what can they do to really then power up their business, so they have more abundance in their life, so they have more clients, more opportunities and everything too, so they can really then go out there and make the difference that they're meant to make?
The best way to do it, the easiest and fastest way to do it, is to heal your heart. And we're talking about the multidimensional heart. That is the foundation of the work that I do in order to then launch people into their life and business abundance. It begins with the heart and healing it. And the greatest, most powerful tool that everybody has is forgiveness. And largely what people don't realize is that it's forgiveness of self, usually, number one. Number two is generally and usually forgiveness of God, forgiving God. And I want to add here, because for some people that sounds like, who am I to forgive God? But just imagine, and I know people have heard this, when somebody is taken from your life, like suddenly, and they pass on for whatever reason, we many times will say, I can't believe that God did this to me. Or, I lost my home. I cannot believe I'm doing everything right. I'm spiritual. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on my own growth and traveling the world for humanity and all of these things. Where's my payback here? And while you may not realize that that is forgiveness of God, that is still forgiveness of God, because who ultimately are you in alignment with? And so there are many ways that things manifest. It is not always under the heading forgiveness, right? And it is still associated. And then the third is forgiveness of the perpetrators. And then you have to remember that in many existences, you were the perpetrator. And then you remember what your mom always said, takes two to tango, right? Mm-hmm. There's always some side. You did something to trigger, even if you don't realize that you did. And they did something to trigger you. And so there's a whole, that's just a whole mosaic of people and events involved in maybe just one incident. And so when we talk about multidimensional forgiveness, well, that is why you seek out a multidimensional healer. Or as we're going to share at the end, we're going to share one of my free MP3s that is all about aligning yourself within to your life and business abundance. So there will be that you will be able to get that and begin the process.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I mean, I know maybe not everyone is open to it, because I know whenever I talk to people, sometimes when I talk to them about the Akashic records, they're just like, I mean, yeah, they're spiritual, but they're like, what are you talking about? I know not everyone is really open to all of that. So how can people really, shift their energy around their vibration, their minds and everything to really then still create the abundance? Let's say they're not ready to, seek out a healer or anything like that. Is there anything that they can still do on that end?
Sure there is. There's several things you can do. First, I pose a question to your mind, because this is really all about the mind, okay? And I am like the biggest fan of the mind, and I explain to everybody, mind is base programming. You come in, the mind is in charge, okay? Your mind is in charge of keeping you alive, keeping you breathing, keeping you in shelter and food and your basic necessities. That's base programming. Everybody who's listening, I'm sure, has heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? It's survive. Okay, the triangle of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is at the base is your fundamental survival needs: food, shelter, love, clothes, those sort of things. And your mind is in charge of that base programming, like I said, to keep you alive. Well, you can take that base programming of the triangle, because remember, everything is sacred geometry, and we all know and are familiar with the body, mind, spirit triangle, right? Well, that is your base programming, and we all come in with that triangle. And so what happens is that triangle resonates at a frequency of 0 to 200. According to Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, 0 to 200 are frequencies such as fear and sadness and grief and depression and lack of clarity and feeling unworthy or undeserving. Okay, name all the bad, yucky emotions. Those fall in 0 to 200, okay? And that's base programming. And so the large header on that is fear, okay? Those are the fear-based programming. So when we have fears about being seen or going out there or putting what we offer out there, or even fear of a new belief and releasing some of our old ones, because as we said, the biggest issue is resistance. And as you can imagine, resistance is flat right in there, 0 to 200. And so what happens is the mind reminds you and triggers you of all the things you need to worry about and stress over and be careful about, because you could hurt yourself or something bad could happen. The other shoe's going to drop. I mean, on and on, right? And so our objective in order to bring ourselves completely into wholeness so that we can activate our divine alignment for ultimate abundance in every area of our lives, you have to shift your base mind programming to that 200, which is courage. You have to have the courage to move past. So you have to heal and release all those lower frequencies so that you get to the 200, and that becomes your new baseline. And when you start to get to that place, what happens is that triangle shifts. And then that is when the mind programming can be altered and upgraded. So if everybody remembers an iPhone 4, we barely can remember it, right? Because we're at iPhone 8 now. If you have an iPhone 4, you cannot download or have the iOS system for iPhone 8. It's not compatible. So everybody who wants to be able to tap into the higher vibrational energy that is available to everybody, you have to be at a frequency that's compatible. Just like the iPhone 4 has to be compatible with the operating system. So when we release these lower frequencies, what happens is you are then become compatible or eligible to be able to merge with those higher frequencies of the iPhone 8. Okay. And so that is what we're saying. So when people are doing what they're doing, they're wondering why they're not successful. It's because your frequency is not compatible with the iPhone 8 frequency. Okay. And so you might hit it every now and again. I call those the one-hit wonders. You might get lucky. Something falls your way, right? But in order to have that consistent level, you have to be able to raise your frequency. And you do that by healing and releasing all the things that trigger you and drag your emotions down and cause you to feel alone and abandoned and as if nothing is working, and no matter how hard you try, it's not going to work for you. So what happens when you get to that 200 is your triangle shifts. And this is where as above, so below merge and begin the merge. And your triangle becomes heart, because it's through the heart that you make these energetic connections and bring in more light into your life and into your whole reality, so that everything that you are sending out, we're all frequency and mathematical. So everything we send out attracts to us, and that's where like attracts like. And so you want to be at the highest frequency you can. Otherwise, if you're at fear frequency, what are you attracting? All the yuck, right? All the yuck that we don't want, and that we're like, how do I get over it? I'm giving you the very basic. This is how you get over it. I'm all about the how, because when I started my own spiritual journey 20 years ago, I wished that my mentor at the time could have given me the how. And it was my biggest frustration, because I was like, if you could just tell me how to do it, I would do it, right? And so for all those mind people out there, the question is, if you could have figured it out already, knowing what you know and doing what you're doing, wouldn't it be fixed? If the answer is it should be, it's not, then you have to expand and allow your mind to realize that it has a role in that higher vibrational triangle. There is no such thing as getting rid of your mind or your ego. Everything is about putting it into balance. And when you bring that higher vibrational triangle programming in within yourself, that is when that programming of the mind shifts. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest changes, you stop having the chatter and the noise of your mind that keeps you up at night and drives you crazy and always makes you feel like you should be doing more. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. All these things, and you're doing 20 things at once and nothing is working. That is when you are in thinking mind mode. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about becoming in alignment with your abundance and your power within, that is from your heart. And your heart does not think. Your heart knows. When it receives the information, it knows that's a yes or no answer. So how do we know and how do we get that answer? It's by being able to connect within yourself to your higher self and receive the answers. And you have to have clarity to ask the questions, right?
Exactly. You know, one thing, I don't remember who said it. I don't know if it was from Einstein or someone, but it's like, you cannot create, you know, something that like with the same consciousness that you have right now. You have to become someone else. Or you have to, you know, kind of like what you just said. But one thing I kind of would like to, you know, touch on, because that's one of the things that really frustrated me from, you know, taking all these training, learning all these things about, you got to shift your mindset and, you know, you got to shift your vibration. And I knew all these things at that time. The one thing I had a hard time with was implementing that, shifting really my mindset around. I know I had that conversation with my coach like so many times about the same thing. Like, you got to shift your thinking. You got to, you know, like, you know, think differently and use different words and all these things. I'm like, I get it. I don't know how. So I would say, I think we should like also touch on that. Even though, you know, it's still not going to be a quick fix where, okay, I'm going to implement that right now, and tomorrow I'm going to be like all healed. I'm going to be a different vibration. I think it is more so a process that you then kind of, because I think for me, I also was resisting a lot of that. And I see a lot of people, you know, like even with my clients, I always teach them certain things about, you know, how to shift your vibration, how to release, and all these different things. But I think it's also, you have to be at the level of allow yourself to step into that different vibration, because once you're in that vibration, and as you said, things are going to get easier. Things are going to be nicer. You're going to be in that flow. And I think a lot of people are just, that right there can be very scary because, hey, then I don't have to struggle no more. Oh my God, how is that going to look, right?
I do understand, yes, because we get trapped in the idea that we need chaos and we need to have that to function, while at the same time you don't want it. And I believe that what happens as you release all this other lower vibrational energy and emotions. So there are a couple things. As you release that need for chaos to keep yourself busy goes away. It just goes away without you even noticing. And what happens is you're left just being able to hear the hints and the pushes and to see the things that are coming into your life, the opportunities that are actually opportunities. What I say now is, now I have to sort through opportunities. What's the best one for myself? And not, the others may be opportunities, but I just don't have time to do them all, right? And so you want to pick the best one. Well, I talk about what you're talking about is between the rock and the hard place. When you're at that lower frequency, you pretty much have crap choices. You have the rock choice and the hard place choice, and the middle choice is I do nothing. And so they're really not good choices, and none of them are going to catapult you out of the chaos that you're in, or the trauma or the lack or the struggle or whatever it is that you've created in order to keep yourself from focusing on the higher vibrations. Now, when it comes to changing your mindset, again, it is not possible to think so strongly that you can override the energy of your billions of cells and your consciousness that's come through all the lifetimes and what's stored in your heart and your spirit and your subconscious and conscious in your current life. The mind is one piece of that triangle, and it has to overcome not only those heart and spirit, but then your multidimensional conscious self. Because when we talk about higher self, we're not talking about, some guy up here, like way up here somewhere. It's like nebulous. No, it's just a higher multidimensional self of who you are, all the way up to your soul. There's no limit, but the limit is how much your frequency can access. How high can it access? So I liken it like this to my clients. Imagine your higher self like this. So here I am in the third dimension. And let's say that I have a frequency that I am connecting with the higher self that's like mountaintop high. So it can see out and over and kind of help guide you if you're connected. As you raise your frequency, then let's say we can go to helicopter high. And helicopter high guy can see a whole lot more and see more paths and opportunities and bring to you more of those things, okay, by you listening to each little step. And I tell everyone, it's a crumb. You get a nudge here and an idea here, and you get a phone call or an email and like this, right? And that's your thing. That's the how. Your only job is to stay connected and follow aligned action as it's being provided to you. That's your how. So then imagine if your vibration is higher than that, and now you're not helicopter high, now you're airplane high. Then you're rocket ship high. I mean, so the point is that there's not a limit to the amount and the best ability to not just get information, but also, I want to say manipulate, but it's access energy in order to bring to you what you desire and what's in your highest and best. And it's at that, as you've crossed over that line of 200, you go and leave behind you the fated free will, what you have to experience in order to nudge you, like you and I said, the kicks in the butt to nudge you to get over that 200 hurdle and to start on your path, right? Because this is all about opening our hearts to love and light. And so when you leave those lower frequencies of fear, you move into those higher potentials. And once you do, you access then your divine aligned purpose. And so you're not invoking, and you don't need the trauma and the chaos and the struggle and the lack anymore. It's a completely different energy. And it is so freeing that is beyond words. I mean, from all my clients, it's like, oh my God, I always wanted it. I just never knew how to get there. And so it's not a very long process, but it is a system. There is a system, and it is about working to release those lower vibrational fears and emotions and triggers that cause you to bring yourself down energetically. And then healing your heart and your spirit and then your mind. And then, boom. And that happens quickly compared to the years and years, right? Okay. I mean, we've struggled for years and years to figure it out. And now I can say, wow, okay, so that's part of what I teach my clients and do with them the system to help release them and then move them into their business abundance. Because even if I have many clients that are, they still work in corporate, or they're consultants, or like the woman I spoke about before, she's a financial advisor. I mean, I have many that do all sorts of things. They're not just healers and coaches and such. So it's really about moving into what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And doing it well and loving it. Right.
One thing like I always say is, success is not created by your mind. If you're trying to think your success into happening, I don't think it's going to be possible, because your mind, that's your ego mind. That's fear-based. You create success from your heart. And, like one thing, like you mentioned, like it's not, it doesn't take very long to get there. I think it only takes very long if you resist it. Because I think we're in a lot of resistance, because I know if I would have, waken up to my spirituality a lot sooner, and if I would have listened and really, embodied all that instead of going against that, I know I would be a lot further. And I see so many other people, but I believe that everything happens for a reason. I know at my point, I was not ready to experience the things that I'm experiencing now 2 years ago. I was simply not ready. My mind was simply not ready, but I believe that everything happens for a reason. But it can happen a lot quicker if you're stopping the resistance.
It can. And if you seek help. I mean, the truth is, there's so many people out there that it's about finding a coach, a mentor, a healer coach that you resonate with and that you feel you can trust and that has the answer for you. Because I feel, and the people that I end up working with just want to be done with this other part as fast as they can and just move on already, because we've already come through much of all the yuck, and we realize, okay, I want what she has. I want to have what she's talking about. And that's where they realize, okay, I'm done trying to figure it out myself. I mean, I've had clients where, I'm all for giving as much as I can, and all my free gifts there's nothing held back, because I want you to move forward and I want you to be who you are meant to be. And what happens is then people still come back and go, okay, I realize that each layer, as it releases, there's another layer. And I'm like, yes, because you're a multidimensional being. We are not just human. And I believe everybody on here can relate to that. We all know this. We know that there's a spiritual aspect of ourselves that's powering this human body. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is they come back and go, okay, now I realize why you do what you do, because it's faster, because for us to have to realize and identify that this is a new layer, it's a new lesson that has to be learned and released, and all the aspects that are needed, then you go, okay, it's maybe a little more complex. Mm-hmm. And so I do my best not to get into the complex part, because it's not important. All we care about, you and I, in the end, is helping each person get past whatever it is and move on. Because this is not about dwelling on the crap in the past. This is about, all right, let's heal it, move on, and get on with what we're here to do. And have the abundance, because the more of us that do that and raise our own consciousness, that is what raises the mass consciousness on this planet. That is the change we all say we want to see. We want everybody to have abundance. But how do you do that? In truth, you do it from within yourself. All of us that do that, you add that up, and that's what creates that tsunami of change and allows everybody to raise that base frequency higher.
Now, one last question I want to ask, before we coming to the end, because I think it's very important. Like, how does all that relate to the financial abundance? Because I know a lot of people, that's really the biggest thing that they're struggling with is like, I want to make money with what I do. I want to make somewhat enough money to actually have a good lifestyle or sustain my lifestyle. So how does that relate to the financial?
I'll tell you how. Everything that we've talked about, I can say this to you. Again, remember, your energy is transmitting 24/7. You're sleeping and your energy is transmitting, right? We all talk about laptop lifestyle, but what makes people find your website, what makes them love what you're doing, it's the energy that comes out of that website. Honest to God, I probably would never have believed this in the past, but everything that you are has a resonance, okay? And people either resonate with it or they don't, and they may not even know why. As you clear up your own energy and connect all the parts of yourself that need to be connected, and you step into your own inner power, literally you can put out there, I want 3 full pay clients by the end of the month. Now, there's a part about all of this that everybody has to remember. There is a practical side of the third dimension in which you live. You have to be at a high enough frequency to be able to bring the energy in and utilize it in the third dimension. Okay, like we just said, empowering everything that you're doing and all the people you're connected with, etc. So now when your vibration is high, it is just a thought, and that then resonates out through all the energy that is already me, not this. It's just the physical finance part of, I need 3 full pay clients by the end of the month. Now, the practical part is saying, okay, within 30 days, and of course you have to do aligned action. There isn't any such thing like I'm going to sit at home and somebody's going to knock on my door and find me. Now, and that's part of the process, and that's where the coaches come in. Once you're in alignment, then taking aligned action and being practical and providing things that resonate with you and your audience. And one of the questions that I ask before taking an opportunity, ask within myself is this my audience? Number 1, you won't believe how much time you'll save by not doing podcasts and summits and stuff where that is not your audience. Big, huge question. The next question I ask is this blank going to bring me money? Is it going to be a money-making venture? Because believe it or not, we want to believe that all these things are going to make you money. But in divine aligned action, these are not questions you have to feel guilty about. See, that's the point, is that that's all gone. I want to provide my service. I don't have to be like, well, I want to provide my service, but I want to make money. Guess what? Those things are merged. I am my service. Everything I provide, even in this, part of my gift is transmitting healing frequencies through my voice. It's just how it is. Everybody who even listens is still receiving, not just mentally, but energetically, you're receiving from me. And from you, Kay, you're also transmitting. I mean, this is the power of what we're talking about. And so for each person, realizing you can leave that guilt of, but I want to serve. I can't tell you how many times I hear this, but it's my gift and I have to serve. And all I can say is that is old programming. You are serving. You are showing up. That is serving. Do you see the difference? Mm-hmm. And so this is where people have to heal all that past stuff that we talked about earlier, so that is not even, that's not even a thought. Of course you are. Of course you are. But in a business sense, and this is where the practical side of myself comes in and my 20 years of corporate experience, the practical side says, this is my business. And part of my business is giving of myself, because that's my service. That's my gift and talent. And I will be paid for it. I heard some time ago the phrase, I want to be paid to be me. And
I like that one.
Yes. And it resonated so strongly because I am my service. Yeah. And most of the audience we're talking to, you are your service and you want to be paid to be you. And that's it. That's how you make money at what you do.
And I think that's how we're going to end the session. I mean, this interview. I mean, this was amazing. And I mean, like, I can feel your energy. I've been having full blown, goosebumps like the entire time we've been talking.
I believe it.
So it's really amazing. And I know we could be talking about this, we definitely need to connect afterwards. We can talk about this forever because I'm totally in alignment with what you're saying. And it is really so true. I mean, once you really find that inner connection, the sky is literally the limit. I mean, it is really amazing. So, thank you so much, Gabriella. In closing, before I forget, I almost forgot, how can people get a hold of you? Where can they find you? And now you can also share a little bit about that gift that you mentioned earlier.
All right. So our gift is called Power Up Your Business Abundance. Very aptly named, right?
Yep.
Go to uanow.net. And that UA stands for Ultimate Abundance. So you can remember it. uanow.net/BIZ and the number 1, biz1. uanow.net/biz1. I try to make it super simple. And that's where you can get that free download. Okay. And then people can go to my website, GabrielleSpencer.com, and find out more about me. And there's an apply to work with me button, and we can set up a time to chat and see what it is that you need and, something that'll work for you.
And all the links will be also with the show notes. So just make sure to go to abundantly-successful.com for all the show notes, information about Gabriella and everything else. So Gabrielle, thank you so much for being here. I definitely had a lot of fun, talking to you, and I definitely loved receiving your energy as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
And I also want to thank you guys again, for being here. I mean, I hope, this interview today really gave you that little nudge to really embody your gifts. I mean, it's not, bad to, be who you are, but, just embody your gifts, connect with your higher self. I'm telling you, I mean, I've gone just recently, a few months ago, gone through my another spiritual awakening, connected even more. And really the opportunities, they are endless when you connect, when you really embody your gifts and you raise your vibration. I mean, that's really what this is all about. You're not becoming successful from your head, you're becoming successful from your heart. So I hope this interview today was able to show you that, give you that insight in that you create abundance, success, and opportunities, everything that you want by tuning into your heart, by connecting with your higher self, by becoming who you are within. I'm getting goosebumps again.
I know. It's so fun. I tell everybody, if I'd known how much fun it was going to be, gosh, I would have done it a lot earlier. And so that's what we tell everybody. Listen, take it from us, procrastinator, all of it. And now I think, wow, if I could have done it over, right? But I'm here and sharing this so you understand you don't have to go down this long, hard road. End it now and just move on in the way that we're talking about. And you will be so grateful that you did. That's what matters. Okay.
Exactly. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in, for being here, for spending the time with us. I hope you got a lot of value out of today's interview. Like I said, go to abundantly-successful.com, for the show notes. If you have any questions about today's topic, leave a comment below, go on YouTube, subscribe to the channel so you get notified about, upcoming interviews. Also check out the other ones, the previous ones. And, I'm so grateful that you're here with us, for tuning in. And I will see you in the next episode. I hope you have an amazingly abundant and successful day.